welcome to yet another episode of The Drop Hip Hop Uncensored, where we bring you the illest, sickest hip hop news la Mzansi Africa. Now, Kalibi talking now Rihn, aka the South African Barbie of the hip hop game, aka the stronger version of Jen. And today, I'm not rolling solo. Today, I am with a music educator, blogger, and beatmaker, producer, kere physiotherapist, born Adrian Kusambizi Kingi, aka Silas Beats. Hello.
Hi.
What do you do?
What's up? What an intro. What an intro. Okay.
I remember like you're gonna put out my name on there. Let them know actually.
Yeah.
Let them know. So you were born in Lesotho.
Yeah, that's correct.
How was it being born in Lesotho?
Well, I don't have much memory of it.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were moving from Uganda. I'm originally from Uganda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So during the times of Idi Amin and all of that, they then decided, look, we've had enough. I think it was out of power at the time, but they'd had enough, and they decided we need to find a new place to go. And on their way to SA, they had me. Yeah, so that's my story of this YouTube.
Okay, so now a lot of people, because your first name is Adrian,
Yes.
a lot of people would assume that that's your pseudonym, or that's a name that you would make up, because rappers or artists in the hip hop game usually make up names. So you actually got your name from your grandfather. So how did that come about? How did they even tell you that you got this from your grandfather?
Well, growing up, my name's Adrian, but they'd always call me Silas, and I always wonder what's going on. There was a time before my late grandfather passed away where he called me Silas, and I was like, okay, so it came from him. And my dad was like, yeah, I know the name actually came from him. And then that's where I got it from. I put them together, Adrian, Silas, Beats, yeah.
And you make beats. So now you born in Lesotho, grew up in Uganda, and then you moved to Queenstown. How did the traveling, as a child, because you have to now, get used to every single city and environment. How was that for you growing up?
Well, look, I actually spent a lot of time in South Africa. Most of my time was spent in South Africa. But growing up, I remember one of the things that I regret about all this movement is that I picked up languages very quickly, because when you're young, you get language very quickly. But I lost them just as fast. So when I was in in Lesotho, I was really young. I was there for maybe 3 months. But then when I was in Queenstown, I picked up Xhosa quite quickly. And I was speaking fluently. But then I quickly moved to East London. And the neighborhood I was in, there were very few Xhosa people around. So I lost it very quickly. Same with Afrikaans. I picked up Afrikaans. Then I lost it as well. So that's one of the things. I think culturally, my culture is, it's colorful, but it doesn't have one. I can't say I hold Ugandan culture, I hold typical South African culture.
Now let's get into the music. So
Yeah.
you first played a violin in grade 3. You're about 7. You first played a violin in like classical music. Because at first I was like, okay, hip hop. We all grew up listening to hip hop. So how did you start with classical violin?
Actually, that was completely by accident. I was in class. One of the teachers came through and they were like, "Does anybody want to play the violin?" You're young and you don't really want to be in class. I was like, "Hey, take me." So they took a bunch of us over and they played notes on a piano, and they said, "Just repeat the notes back to me." And then that's kind of how they picked who would play the violin. So all my friends got kicked out and I found myself there still. I was like, okay, cool. And that was me.
Would you say that you learning how to play notes then is helping you lay down music when you make your beats?
Definitely.
So that's one of the key skills you actually enjoyed as growing up.
Exactly. Yeah. So with that, it really does help. Look, I don't know scales. If you ask me to play out a scale now, I won't be able to play it. I won't be able to identify it, but my ear is quite good because of that violin playing. I played in a couple of orchestras as well. So having that background, when it comes to making beats, I don't spend a lot of time trying to come up with melodies. They're all there, and translating them onto the keyboard becomes quite quick and quite easy.
Okay, so knowing that you started at a very young age, does that mean that now your parents were supportive with your music interest from a very young age, or was it to them just another hobby?
I think it was a hobby for the longest time. It was an extracurricular activity. It was just something I did during and after school. even when it came to making beats, when I eventually started making beats, that was something that they were like, look, he's keeping busy and he's staying out of trouble, so we are happy. And then only later on, I think in my second year of varsity, did my parents actually go and get me my first MIDI keyboard. This is after all the cracked software and all the other stuff. They eventually decided, look, he's doing something with this, let's help him out.
You're the first creative I've ever met whose parents bought them an instrument. Like, you are record breaking at this moment in time. Take note, kids. Like, you were literally record breaking. So you're speaking of varsity. Now, you went to the University of Cape Town, right?
Yeah.
So you studied physiotherapy.
Physiotherapy, yeah.
Why physiotherapy?
I wanted to, like, I played a lot of soccer growing up, and I wanted to, I'm a Chelsea supporter, and I wanted to go to
My
London.
cameraman is like, yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to go to, I really wanted to play for Chelsea. At least I wanted to just be in the environment and just, try my luck. Grade 11, grade 12, I told my parents and they were like, hell no, you are not doing that. You are going to go study, become a doctor, become an accountant, do something. So I was like, what can I study that at least allows me to be around sports people? And physiotherapy popped up, and I was like, hey, I might be able to get the right amount of points. And so I applied. So
do you still use your qualification today? Or is it just that thing of, if the beat thing doesn't make me money this month, then I'll do it?
Yeah, it's actually
What?
So what's happening at the moment is, what I've always done is I've had physiotherapy as something that is, it's my foundation. It's it's solid in that I know at the end of each month there's money coming in, so I need to worry about that, and then the music happens on the side. So what would happen is that you've got the physiotherapy kind of carrying the music. So in 2007 I pulled back from physiotherapy and I let the music carry me for a bit. I just wanted to establish certain things, build up a little bit of a fan base, spend the whole day not thinking about physio and then music, but just thinking about music straight up. I did that for some time, and recently I went back. So I'm doing physiotherapy again as well as music. I then did my master's here at Wits, so I've got my master's in physiotherapy.
Hello.
Yeah. So I decided I needed to use it. I can't just let that qualification just sit. So I'm doing that, and that is all the money that's coming in from the physiotherapy then gets filtered into the music.
I love how you're securing bags in both fields.
You have to.
Now, given that you are a beat producer and a beat maker, and then you're also a physiotherapist, that requires meticulous attention. Would you say that that's why you started to create salisbeats.info, your website, where you show the intricacies of beat making, or how did that come about?
Okay, so that website came about, I think it was in 2014 or 13, right? I was trying to navigate the industry because I'd come from East London, or I'd come from Cape Town, and I wanted to find stuff out. I wanted to speak to people. I didn't have a car. I didn't know who to speak to. I remember I was listening to, I don't even remember what hip-hop show it was at the time, but I didn't know what to do. And I was like, okay, cool, so I need my stuff registered. Where do I go? And then I'd get that information, and then I'd get more information, and then it got to a point where I was sitting on all this information, and I was like, let me put it all together, package it, let me document the process right from the beginning. That way, even if it's two people that I help change their lives at some point, they can then go to that website, and they can, if they take the time to, they can read through everything that I've done, and they can basically replicate what I've done quite quickly.
So you basically created a Bible that people can use to navigate the industry.
Like an encyclopedia.
Yeah. So you said that when people have time to read through everything. Now there's your podcast that you started in 2015.
Yeah.
So was that for people who were on the move? Because I'm a very visual person who I like to listen and just see pictures, and I'm like reading a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So did you create your podcast in 2015 for people like me?
Exactly.
So now, what went into making your podcast?
That was me going to work, frustrated that I couldn't do music the whole day.
Oh.
So I'd wake up in the morning and think to myself, I want to do music, but then I need to go to the clinic or the hospital. So I got into the car, and one day I decided, let me just open up SoundCloud, put the recorder on, and let me just speak. Instead of just listening to music or listening to a radio show, let me just speak. Basically doing what I was doing with the blog, just in audio format. Yeah.
I like that. Another thing that I want to talk about is that you mentioned that you're SoundCloud. Now, they call them SoundCloud rappers or SoundCloud artists in South Africa, which are your underground up and coming artists.
Yeah.
Now, is that a platform that you used to grab the attention of the likes of Black Les, P.O, Rihn? Was that your peak for your career?
No, actually. I think I used Facebook more than I did SoundCloud.
Really?
Yeah, I did. That's when I first reached out to P.O. I remember I was in Cape Town. I just finished supper, and I had some beats that I just made, and I was just sitting there. You know, everyone. I think it was back in the days of Farmville, which is a long time ago.
It must be a long time because I don't know Farmville.
You don't know Farmville?
I must be very young.
Yeah, so Facebook, before it was used for what it's used today, people would go and they play all these weird games. So I was looking for rappers, and I found P's name. I was like, okay, cool. He's also from the Eastern Cape. Let me send him a message, and I just hit him up, and that's how it started. From P.O, then it kind of just branched out from there. So SoundCloud was a place where people would go to listen to the stuff, but to actually start the communication, I used things like Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp eventually.
Now I want to ask you, in terms of, because there's a lot of up and coming artists, with people that go to you directly or send you DMs, what's the best way, if I'm an up and coming artist or beat maker, producer, what's the best way to approach a bigger name or a bigger artist to working with me and helping me build up my profile so that I get bigger gigs? Yeah.
Ooh, that's a big one. Just say hello. I'm being serious. I'm being serious because some of the messages I get, when I sit with some of these other guys I work with, they're like it's almost like you're just a number in space when they're communicating. We're in a digital age now, and if I'm speaking to you now, the first thing when I got here, the first thing I did was greet.
Yes,
right?
that's true.
It's a very human interaction. But the moment we take it digital, people no longer do that stuff. They're like, I need help. Hook me up.
Please help me.
Put me on. You know? And if people could just take a step back and just be like, look, this is who I am. Hi, my name is so and so. This is who I am. This is what I do. Give people context, and then in that way continue to have that humanistic just have a conversation, essentially. Yeah. Now,
you started your lounge sessions, right? And what I want to ask you is that how important is it to not only focus on one aspect in the entertainment industry? Because you started with your blog, then you went to podcast, then now it's the lounge sessions, and then I met you at the Beatmakers Market. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how important is it to not only, because I feel like for the youth who are going to be watching this, it would be helpful for them to know that, okay, if I'm doing music, I shouldn't just focus on music, but other things as well. So how important is it, and how does it help you?
I think it goes down to networking. I think that's a lot of the reason why I've been doing all these different things. I'm reaching different people in different platforms in different ways, and that networking aspect is so important. I remember when I first got to Joburg, like I said, I didn't know anybody. I had one or two contacts from the Eastern Cape that helped me out, but for the most part, I just wish that there was a place that I could go to where there were other creatives, and it was egos weren't there. You know, there was no like, you know, am I better rapper than you, or am I better beat maker?
No gatekeepers.
Yes, you know, it's just a situation where we can just sit, much like this. We're just sitting in an environment. One person has a question, and it sparks a conversation, and that's all we need. Even at the lounge sessions, that's all we need. One person will walk in and be like, man, you know, that mic, there's that mic that I really want. Someone else will say, no, I was in a session where that mic was being used, and then very quickly starting a conversation. So definitely that networking aspect is important.
Okay. Now, what I want to ask you is, when it comes to beat making, because in today's market and the hip hop industry, especially in South Africa, people don't give attention or credit to the producer or the man behind the beat, because you guys literally lay the foundation for the rappers or singers. You know what I mean? How would you say that young people could change that and make sure or enhance the producer life? Because as much as yes, you're a producer, but literally 80% of the work in that song is you, because you mix and master, you do the beat, you lay it down, everything is you, and then the artist just does like maybe like the 20% or 40% of their lyrics.
Oh yeah, so with that, that's a difficult one, because even your top people struggle with that sometimes. Sometimes you have to go into the back of the leaflet or go online to find out who produced the track, right? So we all struggle with it, but if we take a page out of the book of some of the greatest music producers, the one thing that you can say that each of them has is a particular sound. Something that regardless of whether you hear that tag in the beginning, tags are super important, but even if the tag is not there, you'll be like, hey, that sounds like a Kanye West beat. Or hey, that sounds like a Pharrell. You know, Pharrell's got a very specific sound, you know. And I'm speaking about these guys because these are the people I grew up listening to. And I'd listen to Timbo. Timbo's another, I see him as a production god. They created sounds of their own, and that allowed for them to step forward and be counted for many years, decades. And what I'm seeing now is there are a lot of music producers. It's never been easier for someone to just get a copy of FL Studio or any program and just start creating. And from time to time, I get music sent to me, and when I listen back, I'm like, it's going to be tough for you to be noticed. You've got the basics down, but I'm not hearing a sound from you. I'm hearing the same song I heard yesterday or last week. Therefore, I'm going to forget you before then. And I'm straight. Before I used to sugarcoat it, but now I have to be straight because it's medicine. I mean, I wish I even had. I'm going to forget you very quickly. Get to a point where you get your basics down, and then from there, build it up to a place where this is a particular sound that I've got. If you look in SA, you've got people like Tweezy. You've got your Ruffs. You've got people who have created, if you remember the ambitious, that ambitious sound. There was a sound that came from them, and there was a certain place where it came from, and that's what's important. I think that's what's lacking a little bit now these days.
Okay, now you know when you work as an up and coming artist, and then bigger artists want to work with you, but they don't want to pay you.
Okay.
What do you think about? Because there's a situation. I remember there was a story about Speedster hitting up D Koala. D Koala is a rapper female rapper in the Eastern Cape.
Yeah.
So Speedster hit up D Koala, and D Koala is like, okay, we can work.
Yeah.
But here's my fee.
Story.
You know, it was like so big, like nobody knows you. Why are you charging?
Yeah.
But isn't me putting in effort and my work and my creativity, me rendering a service? So why is it any different if I'm an up and coming artist and I'm not there yet? Because my talent, you want my talent, but you don't want to pay for it because no one knows me.
Yeah. My viewpoint on this, because I heard that, and I could hear in his voice. He was like,
what? Why are you trying to do it?
Exactly. But I've got this thing of like supply and demand. Supply and demand. If I enter into a space and no one has eaten anything for a very long period of time, and I bring food in, there's a huge demand for this food that I've just brought into the room, as opposed to a room that's just everybody's just finished eating, and then I bring food and people be like, it's chill. So if there is a demand, like you're saying, if there's a demand, then whoever is supplying should then be able to charge, right? And charge what they feel, obviously charge within reasonable.
Yeah, reasonable.
Yes.
Obviously, you can't charge him like 100K.
Yeah, so like 100K straight up.
Yeah.
But because that demand and supply thing is happening, let it happen. If they're gonna charge that, then at that point, it's like walking into a shop. You're not gonna buy something just because it's in the shop and you need it. You're gonna shop around and be like, okay, cool, you're too expensive, and then you move along. So, on the artist part, I understand the reason for charging, but same time, having said all of that, at the same time, I still feel like if you haven't, you call it paying your dues, and I hate that term, but that needs to happen as well. I did it for a long time. You sit there and you're like, I will work for you for free.
Pay your dues to the game.
Yeah. I'll work for you for free, and get to a point where at some point people are going to start coming and saying, okay, your work is really good. You should be charging. Or how much do you charge?
Then you don't know how to charge because you've been working for free.
Okay. No, but I mean to keep it in the back of your mind. My first beats I sold them for 50 Rand.
Really?
Yeah.
When was this? 2000?
2009.
Whoa!
50 Rand. From 50 Rand.
Whoa.
And it only came about because the person walked up to me and was like, how much do you charge?
How much are your beats now?
More than 50 Rand. Yeah. So at the moment, look, the progression, let me talk to the progression. Started at 50 Rand. At some point, lots of people started coming through. I was like, this is too much. Moved to 250. 250, my next number was 500, 5 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 1.2, 1.2 to 1.9, and now I'm sitting at 2.3. So it's been a little bit of a progression.
Yeah, and it's not like a massive increase. Because people come to you knowing that, okay, maybe you charge 200 for a beat, and then they find out that it's 250. That's, oh, okay, it's not that bad, considering you're actually really good. Now, you've produced albums such as The Devil's Playground, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned that Ryan Leslie's your inspiration in the entertainment industry. Now, what are your other inspirations